Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Colmatt, and today I'm going to be showing you everything you need to know about all the different exocrafts in No Man's Sky. In total, there are 6 different exocrafts. We have the Pilgrim, the Nomad, the Roamer, the Colossus, the Minotaur, and the Nautilin. Now I can't show the Nautilin here because there was no water, but for the purpose of this video I will actually be leaving it out because it is the only submarine in the game. So if you need to go underwater, that one's kind of self-explanatory. Go ahead and use the Nautilin, but I will cover the rest. And just to get started, all of the 4 exocrafts behind me are going to use similar technology, so you won't really expect to see any sort of advantage over what one can do over the other. Now the Minotaur is a little bit different, and I'll get to that a little bit later in the video, but just know you're not really going to get one advantage over the other with these 4. Up first we have the Pilgrim. Now the Pilgrim is the motorcycle of No Man's Sky, and as far as I know this is actually the fastest exocraft once it is fully modded out. So you can see here, this is about as fast as it's going to go. Now you do have your boost here, and then you can also drift with it. It drifts pretty well. Now one really cool thing with these that I like to do is if you can find a good spot, let me see if I can find something here. So if we see this little bump over here, we can hit the boost and also jump at the same time, so we get a lot of air time. We can move quite fast that way as well. Now as far as what we're looking at storage wise, here is the technology. Now yours may not be lined up the exact same, but you should have the same amount of slots, so you may see your slots are in different spots. Same thing with the cargo, you're going to have about this much. Now again, it's going to be shifted around. Now this is thanks to the 4.0 update. Before then, we had very limited amount of storage in these, especially some of the smaller ones like the Nomad and the Pilgrim. We had almost no storage if you wanted to put your upgrades. But speaking of upgrades, the upgrades that we have available for this, again, this is going to be very similar to all the rest of the exocrafts. We have our 3 different types of suspension, which allow us to handle different ways depending on how you want yours to handle specifically. We have our 3 different radar upgrades. So you can see there's 2 here, and then we have our 3rd one. We have the engine recharger. We have our different types of protection from the different weathers, because yes, with this, you will still have to install these in order to make sure you don't take damage from these different types of weathers. And then we're also going to have our mining laser, the advanced mining laser, and then our mounted cannon, which actually can be very useful, especially against sentinels once you max it out. And one really useful thing to note is with the different types of radars, so we'll go ahead and install one here. So this is going to be the basic radar. You can see it actually adds in our menu a exocraft radar, so we can go ahead and use this, and we can scan for our depots. So it'll go ahead and pinpoint us a depot somewhere on the planet's surface. Now what is also really cool is each one you add adds new stuff that you can scan for. So now if we go in and add this B class one and we just install this as well, you will see when we go back in, we now can scan for the depots as before, as well as the cargo pods, or the drop pods rather, and then the abandoned structures. So this is really good if you don't feel like wasting your navigational data on your scanner to find the drop pods. Now this won't find it all the way across the planet's surface. If there's not one nearby, it's still not going to find it, but we'll scan just to see. And did it find one for us? It says it detected one. Yeah, so we actually do have one kind of close, 5 minutes. So this way you know you'll always kind of be close to one. If it's too far, again, you can jump out of your exocraft, hop in your ship and fly, but exocrafts are going to get there pretty fast. And then we have our 3rd and final, which gives us another 100% scan on the radius. So we'll go ahead and get this one installed. And then when we go in now, we can scan for the trading outpost, as well as the ruins, and then the alien structure. So this is really useful, especially if you want to find a portal, or if you're looking for a trading outpost as before. So as far as technology goes, that's about what you're going to be looking at. And for those of you that wanted to see the cannon and the mining laser in action, I'll go ahead and show that off here. So you can press the Y or triangle button, whatever you use to swap your weapon on your multi-tool. You can go ahead and swap over the same way here, and you can see this is about what the reticle is going to look like. So you can see it doesn't do a crazy amount of damage. Now this is stock, you can upgrade this, and I am holding this down, so this is as fast as it will shoot stock. And now onto the mining laser. I do also have the advanced mining laser installed, so you can see here that's about how fast it's going to go. It is a lot faster than your mining beam, especially once you upgrade it. And a really cool thing is that it does store it here in your exocraft, so you don't have to worry about your exosuit filling up with materials that you don't need. Maybe you just want to fill this up with carbon and then let it sit and then call it in when you need the carbon. That's what I like to use these for. But again, use it how you want. It's up to you. Up next we have the Roamer. The Roamer is going to be the Doom Buggy of the No Man's Sky world, and this is one of my personal favorites. I just like the way it looks, and this seems like something that you would be using in space. As far as speed goes, this is about what you're going to be looking at speed-wise, stock, and then of course it has a hold-down turbo, so It takes a little bit longer to charge it, but you can use it for quite a bit longer, unlike the last one, which was burst. You do still have your same jump ability, so use that to your advantage to get places faster, or to get in places that you normally couldn't get to. Now, as far as technology goes, it is all going to be the same technology that you would normally have, so you're going to have your same Exocraft upgrades. One thing to keep in mind that I didn't mention with the last one is you can see here is our Exocraft cannon. Now, I believe this is how fast it's going to fire on every one of these. However, if you take your technology and, for instance, we put it in one of these blue supercharged slots, you can see now the firing rate has went up about twice the speed. So definitely use that to your advantage. If you like to use that cannons to do damage, go ahead and make sure you put those in those supercharged slots. Now, as far as the mining laser goes, we'll go ahead and show that off as well. So you can see here we have this rock in front of us. It destroys it pretty reasonably fast. Now, if we'll go ahead and take and put this in the supercharged slot instead, and we'll aim at this rock behind us, which is the same kind of rock, you can see it destroys the rock again about twice as fast. Maybe not quite twice as fast, but it definitely is an improvement. So whatever type of technology you like to use, I would put in there. Other than maybe the scanners, I don't know if it's going to give the scanners that big of a benefit, or the Exocraft upgrades for, say, your different environmental hazards. I don't know if I would put those in there because those kind of already keep you protected as it is. Try it out, see what happens. If it does improve it quite a bit, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. So that way I can go ahead and pin it, let everybody else know. But that is going to be all for the Roamer. Again, I really like this vehicle. It's one of my personal favorites, and this is, I believe, the first one you have to buy in order to get the rest of the Exocrafts anyways. Up next, we have the Colossus. I think you could probably see where it gets its name. Now, the Colossus is going to be quite unique in the fact that it does have every single slot unlocked. So you can see here, we can go ahead and store as much as we possibly want in here, and that's why I really like the Colossus, because for me personally, I like to go out and get a lot of carbon instead of having to be running behind all the time. I like to go ahead and farm a lot when I can, so the Colossus makes it really easy to do so. You just hop in, mow down some trees really fast, and then you got a lot of carbon stored up. And what's really cool is if you have the technology from the last video that I made, the Exocraft materializer on your freighter, you can just call it in whenever, pull the carbon out, and then you're good to go, or whatever material it is you need. For me, again, it's carbon, but for you it may be something else. One thing I do want to mention as well, I didn't realize, because the other vehicles I use quite a bit in this save, I haven't really used the Colossus that much in this particular save, is the Exocraft boosters. That is not pre-installed. That is something you do have to install. I want to apologize for that. I didn't make that clear before because, again, they were already installed. I didn't really think to say that. So we'll go ahead and install them here. And you can see this is going to be the speed that you would get with the Colossus. This is one of the slower ones. Mainly here what you're looking for is the storage. Now this is going to be the booster. So it does get a little bit faster, and you can still do the same jump ability. Granted, you're not going to get as much height because of the weight of this thing. One thing I would do if I was you, especially with this vehicle, I would do it with all, but specifically this vehicle, is I would take your boost module and throw that in one of these supercharged slots so you can get quite a bit more speed. You may even want to throw your engine in there just to give you a little bit more range on the engine. So I would definitely go for those two, because you can see there it made it a little bit faster. Now granted, we hit a jump, but it did make it faster. Now back to cannon. This is what you're going to be looking at on cannon. This one's not going to be one you're really going to be wanting to using a cannon on, because you can see you don't have very much room to see. You're kind of looking at the Colossus, and then you also have your mining laser. It's going to be the same way. One thing you can do I haven't mentioned yet is you can also, as anywhere else in the game, you can go into first person, so that makes it a little bit easier to aim. However, you can only aim in front of you at that point. That's the reason why I don't typically tend to use it. These things just tend to be a lot harder to steer in first person, but if that's up to you, if you like that, use it. I would say most of the community I've met has used third person mode just because it's easier, but this is what you're going to be looking at. Of course, you will get that upward view with the mining laser, so you get a little bit better of a view, and you can see it's still the same speed. It's not going to be any faster than before, but that is the Colossus. Again, really good for storage. I would say that's its specialty. So far, the first two, they didn't really have a specialty. They're just kind of Exocrafts. This is really the first one with its own unique use, so definitely keep that in mind if you want that extra storage. Up next, we have the Nomad, and now the Nomad, I don't really know what you would categorize this as because it is a hovering device, so there's not really anything I can compare it to that we have in real world. With that being said, though, the Nomad is by far, I think, the most useful Exocraft that you can have, and I'll show you why in just a second. Again, it's going to be the same. You're going to have limited amount of storage, about the same as the Pilgrim, maybe a little bit less. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't remember the exact amount that one had. But of course, you're going to have your same amount of supercharged slots. I think this is only 3 per. That's all I've seen so far. Now, if it's different for you, let me know. Maybe it's just mine or 3 per. But you can see here, nothing is supercharged. So this is what it's going to be the speed off the get-go. So this is what you're going to be seeing with no boosters. With boosters, that's about the speed you're going to get. It is a quick fire burst. One of my personal favorite things about the Nomad, though, is the fact that it hovers. So you can pull off some really crazy jumps with this thing. Sometimes I just like to roam around and jump. So you can see here, we have a ramp sort of here in front of us. So we're going to hit it with the jump at the same time as the speed boost. And you can see here, we flew really far with that jump, and that's why I really like it. You also don't take fall damage with this. You take a little bit of fall damage with the Exocrafts if you hit the ground too hard. However, since this one does hover, you don't take any sort of fall damage. Another big benefit of this one, and this is why it is my personal favorite and why I think that this is what you should probably be using, is because the fact, since it does hover, it seems a little bit smoother on the planet's surface. I know a lot of people get motion sick with these. Another big thing is that it does hover on water as well, so you don't have to worry about calling in the Nautilin. If you don't feel like going under the water, you can just stay on the Nomad, go right across the water. It's super useful for that. As far as your cannon goes, it's going to be, this is what you're going to be looking at. So far I think that this is probably the best reticle that we've had. As far as like the point at which you aim, same thing with the mining laser. It looks really good here, and of course it's the same speed as the rest, so I'm not going to test that again. Now I will move the engine and the boosters over to the supercharged slot so you can kind of see what that looks like. So you can see now this is the extra, it's not very much extra boost, it's a little bit extra boost, but you can see even without the jump there, we got quite a bit of hang time. Again, same thing, I hit the jump that time and we got pretty far with it. So go out there, use this one, see if you have any fun with it. If you do, let me know down in the comments. Again, this is my personal favorite, so let me know how you like it. But that is all for the Nomad. And on to the final Exocraft. This one is probably the most useful Exocraft that you can have. It is going to be the Minotaur. Now, by default, your Minotaur is not going to look like this. The reason why mine does is because I went through and I did the little Sentinel mission that you can do. This is what gives you the AI control unit without having to purchase it from the anomaly. So what I mean by that, in case you're unaware, is you can see all the other Exocrafts, when you get out of them, they just kind of sit there. Same thing with the Minotaur. However, we can go into our menu and we can go over to Enable AI Minotaur. And you can see now the Minotaur will follow us around, and if there's any hostile sort of creatures around us, it'll blast them. Granted, you do have to have your different weapons installed. So for mine, I have the cannon, I also have the mining laser, so he'll use that to his advantage. He also will help with the different types of sentinels, so if you get in a firefight with sentinels, very useful. This is one I always like to max out, and you could probably seen just a second ago it was fully maxed out as much as I could before 4.0 update. Now that they've updated it, I can probably go through and add some more upgrades. But we're going to go ahead and turn off the AI for now. So from an inside view of the Minotaur, this is about what you're going to be looking at. This is without any sort of boost. You can see it is pretty slow on its own. However, it has this big jetpack that you can hold. Granted, again, mine is upgraded quite a bit. It looks like we have 2 upgrades here. They're kind of laid out a little bit weird because with this newest update, it kind of messed with everything. So that's not what you're going to get by default. It's going to be very close. The walking speed's going to be the same. You're just going to see a little bit less jetpack. The huge thing about the Minotaur, this was especially useful before the newest update. It's not so much as useful now because we have a lot more storage space, is the fact that it has the environmental control unit, which means you don't have to go through and manually install each individual environmental control. So for instance, if I went to a fiery planet, it would already have protection from fire, and I would not have to recharge it. That is a big thing to keep in mind. With the others, you do still have to recharge it with batteries. This one, you can be in harsh weather, any type of weather. You don't have to worry about recharging it. Another big advantage is you can see, so we do have our mining laser. Now, typically speaking, it's going to go through the head part. You can see there, like the head right now. However, since I have the upgraded parts from the Sentinel quest, it shoots it through the arm. If you don't like that, don't put those upgrades on there. I like the way it looks, so I keep it on there. However, without this arm upgrade, it is a little bit better with the mining laser. We also have the Minotaur cannon. He's going to shoot this through his hand. Now, this is not as fast as you would normally shoot it. Again, mine is upgraded with 3 S-Class upgrades, so that's why you're seeing the different damage. But he's going to shoot it out of his hand, so keep that in mind. It's going to be a little bit harder to see. I believe it's the same way. I believe he has the cannon mounted somewhere near his head if you don't have the Sentinel upgrades. Another really useful piece of tech that you can get with the Minotaur that wasn't available on any of the other Exocrafts is the boar. It's the Minotaur boar. What this basically allows you to do is this is a terrain manipulator, but for your Exocrafts. You can see here we can go ahead and make this bigger or smaller, and it can destroy quite a bit. You can actually make it big enough where you can go straight through the ground with this. really useful, especially if you can find your buried technology. However, as far as I know, unless they've changed this with the most recent update, when you do your scans, you still don't have any way to see the hidden technology. It would be really cool if we had some sort of, analysis visor built in for these, but unfortunately, at the time being, at least, we don't have that. So you still have to hop out and, mark where your underground technology is, but it's nice to be able to see that you can go through and just make holes in the ground. As far as storage space goes, is what you're looking at. You have almost maxed out storage on your technology, and you're missing a few spots here and there on your cargo. Again, yours will probably be laid out a little bit differently. You typically want these more square, at least for the technology. I guess for your cargo, it doesn't necessarily matter, but for this, you want it more square so you can put as many upgrades together as possible. But that is all for the Minotaur. And again, I'm not going to be covering the Nautilin because it is one in its own, where it's the only vehicle that can go underwater. So if you need to go under the water, definitely, put that on there. I will say the Nautilin has a feature where you can scan for the different underwater types of structures, and it's especially useful if you want to find crash ships under the water. That is about the only way you can find crash ships under the water. You can install the different sonars, and it'll allow you to find the hidden ships underwater. So if you want to look for hidden ships, or well, crash ships rather, go ahead and get yourself a Nautilin. Go ahead and install those sonar upgrades. It's super useful, and I think it's going to be well worth your time. The Nautilin is a little bit slow when it comes to getting there, and they will sometimes mark them far away. So my advice to you, if you want to go that route, is definitely go ahead and ping them, get in your ship, fly to where it is closest to it, call your Nautilin back in, and then swim down to it. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found the video helpful, consider leaving a like on the video, as it greatly helps me out and shows me you care. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, definitely consider subscribing, as I make videos like this all the time, and I oftentimes do take a lot of the suggestions from the comments. So if you have a video idea you want to see, leave it in the comments below, and I'll get around to it as soon as I possibly can. It's typically about one video per week, so if you upload it on the same day the video is uploaded, expect to see it about a week later. Anyways, guys, with that all being said, thank you so much for watching the video. Have a great rest of the day.